The New York Yankees made a trade this past week, and you may be surprised as to who their trade partner was. We'll break down this move and another acquisition that the Yankees made this past week on this brand new episode of the Pinstripe Talk podcast, which begins right now.
You are listening to the Pinstripe Talk podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Pinstripe Talk podcast, powered to you by Delahanty Media. I'm your host, Nick Delahanty. If you're new to the show, we welcome you aboard. If you're a returning member, we thank you for your continued support. If you haven't done so already, follow us on Twitter at Pinstripe Talk ND. My personal account, Nick Delahanty. Find that right on the same page. And on Facebook, searches up Pinstripe Talk Podcast. You could also follow the Delahanty Media brand on Instagram by looking up Delahanty Media. And we encourage you to check out our website, delahantymedia.com, for all the latest news and updates regarding not only our show, but our brand as a whole. We got a lot to talk about today. Yankees made a trade this week. It may be surprising as to who their trade partner was. We're going to get into that and more. The Yankees, in turn, then made a free agent signing. We're going to break that down as well. And the Yankees lost a very familiar face as he'll return to his homeland, and that will kind of wrap up our show today. So we do have some Yankees news as spring training is coming closer and closer. It seems that the hot stove is getting hotter and hotter. Let's get the show off rolling right now, and we're going to talk about that trade the Yankees made. And it was a rather surprise, and I'm sure that if you were in work or just, gallivanting on social media, you were surprised to see that the New York Yankees found a trade partner for Adam Ottavino. Remember, Ottavino had a $9 million salary cap hit this year, which for a New York Yankees team that was trying to stay under the luxury tax threshold, that wasn't going to necessarily work. So the Yankees found the partner to take that deal, and that came in the likes of the Boston Red Sox. Yes, the Boston Red Sox that are in the Yankees division, their biggest, most hated rival. These two agreed on a trade. Ottavino and Frank Germán. If you don't know who Germán is, no relation to Domingo, was the Yankees' 24th ranked prospect according to MLB Pipeline. Very good right-handed pitcher. They say that the velocity on him gets very close to 100 miles per hour. Not sure if he'll translate into a starter or a reliever, but it's an arm that the Yankees had to attach to, I guess, give some incentive for the Red Sox to take on the majority of Ottavino's remaining 1 year, $9 million contract. And remember, there's a $3 million signing bonus that Ottavino has that's owed in 2022. So it's $11 million in total that the Yankees are saving. So the general trade, Yankees get a player to be named later or cash considerations, and the Red Sox get Ottavino, Germán, and $850,000. Now, if you were wondering, it's not very often that these two teams make trades. The last time these two agreed on a deal was at the trade deadline in 2014. The Red Sox traded Stephen Drew and cash to the Yankees for Kelly Johnson. And now, Johnson was no all-star, but you all remember the Stephen Drew days of the Yankees. So that trade really didn't work out, not for either side, to be quite honest with you. If you go past that trade, the last time these two agreed on a deal was August 13th of 1997. So it's not very often that the Red Sox and the Yankees do agree on trades, but they were able to become trade partners in this circumstance. Now let's discuss Ottavino a little bit, shall we? 35-year-old right-hander, grew up in the New York area, grew up a Yankees fan, so coming to the Yankees was a big deal for him. And his first year with the Yankees was really impressive. Under 2 ERA, appeared in 73 games. Electric. 2020, however, wasn't his year. The ERA was a little bloated, had a couple of bad outings that really made it higher than it seemed, but it just felt, and if you watched the postseason, Ottavino was a spectator throughout. The Yankees lost trust in him. Aaron Boone couldn't rely on him, and it was just a situation that Ottavino fell out of favor. And going into the year, and I said it earlier, the luxury tax is a big deal with this team. They're trying to stay under the luxury tax, trying to reset it. So that $9 million cap was one of those deals that you look at and say, that is a contract the Yankees would love to get rid of. And yes, it's very likely and possible that Ottavino could get back on track. He's a very good reliever, has quality stuff. Maybe going to Boston helps him fix that. But it was too big of a risk for the Yankees to take. They were able to find the trade partner, and they jumped on the opportunity. Yeah, had to give up a prospect, but I think if you're Brian Cashman, you're looking at this luxury tax, you're trying to save as much money as possible to add some other assets before the season does start, and then give you some flexibility to make some moves at the trade deadline if needed. Now, Ottavino's no stranger to the Boston area, as he went to Northeastern University in Boston. Knows the area, but I'm sure that as a diehard Yankee fan growing up, playing for their most hated rival will sting a little bit. Aaron Boone was in a press conference the other day and said that Ottavino was actually at the stadium when the trade went down, so it was a little bit of an awkward situation to have to tell him that he was traded. But again, for the Red Sox, they have a high salary cap as it is. They're looking for some late end-of-game relievers. They're hoping Ottavino could slide into that 7th, maybe 8th inning role for them and get back on track. For the Yankees, it was a big risk of keeping him around for $9 million and him not being effective. The Yankees wanted to save that money, use it elsewhere, and that's why they decided to make the trade. Ottavino's a good guy, seems like a good clubhouse character, really seemed to fit in New York, and of course you don't want him to pitch well against the Yankees, but you hope that he does get back on track because the 2 years he was there, he was an asset to the team, although 2020 was definitely not his year. So that will wrap up that kind of deal. Really weird and shocking, to be quite honest with you, when I saw that it was the Red Sox as the trade partner, but nonetheless, the Yankees get the move done, and you're going to see some trickling effects because of it. Now, due to the Ottavino trade, the Yankees had a spot in their bullpen, which they filled rather quickly. The team agreed on technically a 1-year deal with right-handed pitcher Darren O'Day, 38 years old, scheduled to make $2.5 million with the Yankees in 2021. The deal includes a player option for 2022. Due to CBA rules and contract stipulations, O'Day is only a luxury tax for $1.75 million, I believe it is. So it's not that big of a contract. But the age may scare you, but the results should really excite you. Last year, only let up 2 runs in 16 innings of work. Now, that's not a big sample size, but if you look at his numbers as a whole, O'Day's been really good against right-handed hitters. Over the course of his career, he's limited right-handed hitters to a .549 OPS. And over the last couple of years, he's been very, very effective. Spent some time with the Braves over the last 2 years, then spent an extended period of time with the Baltimore Orioles, which, in fact, he made an all-star team as part of the Orioles organization. Very familiar with Zach Britton, so they reunite. And one thing that O'Day brings to the table that the Yankees really don't have in the back end of their bullpen is he's a sidearmer. And it's a very weird delivery and funky setup, and it does throw hitters off. So you're going to be able to utilize O'Day in situations where you have some right-handed heavy lineups and you're trying to get some outs late in the game or even during the middle of the game. I think that the Yankees are going to use him wisely and use him in different spots and different roles, and I think that overall he'll be a big asset to their bullpen. Yes, he's getting up there in age at 38. It'll be his age 38 season in 2021, but he's still very, very effective, and you're getting him for less than a third of what you would have paid Adam Ottavino. So getting rid of Ottavino's contract allowed the Yankees some more flexibility to bring in a guy like Darren O'Day, and he also adds a different dimension that the Yankees bullpen currently didn't possess. Yeah, Ottavino had the weird moving slider and, it looked like wiffle ball pitches, but O'Day's funky delivery and effectiveness against right-handers can be very valuable for this team, especially come playoff time when the time does come around. This week's been a rather busy one for the Yankees. I don't know if it's because spring training's coming closer or they're just making some room on the roster to get this stuff done, but the Yankees announced officially that they've signed Corey Kluber and that they've re-signed DJ LeMahieu. First on Kluber. Kluber made a statement that really stood out to me, and I want to read it to you all. He said, "One of my most important criteria when looking for a team was trying to identify a team that was a contender for the World Series." Now, obviously, for a guy like him, we talked about him on previous shows, about what he could possibly bring to the table. For him, he's trying to prove his worth, trying to prove that the injuries of late aren't the guy he truly is, and he's trying to bounce back, and what better position than to try to help the New York Yankees win a World Series. He's reunited with Eric Cressey. There's a lot of familiar faces there, especially Matt Blake. I think it's a perfect fit for him. I'm excited to see what he has and can bring to the table. Hopefully, he stays healthy. And then again, LeMahieu, we all knew he wanted to be back. He even said it in his press conference via Zoom this week. He said, I want to be back, and I wanted to be a Yankee. There was no doubt about that. You can sense that there was frustration on LeMahieu's end as he was trying to get this done as quickly as possible because obviously he had no intention of going elsewhere. If you watched that last show, we talked about the LeMahieu signing, the Kluber signing. We broke this all down, but it's now official. LeMahieu, 6 years, $90 million. He will be in the Bronx until the 2026 season, through that season. So very exciting that the Yankees were able to get their top priority back into the fold for not only this year, but the future of the franchise, because LeMahieu is a very valuable asset to this team. He brings to the table what this team desperately needs. His ability to get on base, his elite defensive skills, his clubhouse leadership, the way he sets the tone for the rest of the team. He knows there's unfinished business. He didn't want to leave the Bronx. We knew a reunion was likely, but now it's a perfect fit. The two sides were able to come to a deal that not only benefited LeMahieu's camp, but benefited the Yankees camp as well. LeMahieu, pencil him in at the top of the lineup. I expect a lot of big things out of him over the next couple of years as he continues his career in the Bronx. Unfortunately, one guy's career in the Bronx, at least for now, has come to an end, and that is Masahiro Tanaka. The writing was on the wall as the offseason began, as the Yankees looked to cut salary and try to address their needs in a lower risk, high reward type of idea. You know, if you look at the Yankees offseason, they were trying to add in surplus and bring in guys that can eventually add more depth to the organization. Recently, the trade of Jameson Taillon and the signing of Corey Kluber just indicated that Tanaka's time in the Bronx was over. Tanaka, instead of wanting to pitch for another team in Major League Baseball, decided to return home, as he will pitch for the Eagles, who he pitched for earlier in his professional baseball career, at least for the next year. Tanaka did not agree to a long-term deal in Japan. It's a one-year deal, possible option for a second year, and in his press conference, which was held on Friday, Tanaka said that he had unfinished business in the United States. There's flexibility there. There's possibility that Tanaka can return. But one thing is for certain. As we're looking at Tanaka, and we're looking at the 7 years he spent in the Bronx, the Yankees got what they expected out of Tanaka. 78-46 career record, 3.74 ERA, two-time All-Star appearance, finished in the top 7 in the Cy Young voting back in 2016. Yes, he dealt with some UCL problems. There was the possibility that his arm was a ticking time bomb. The Yankees didn't know what to expect. But every fifth day, Tanaka went out and gave the effort that the Yankees expected. Yes, they came up short. Brian Cashman noted that it's disappointing that Tanaka was robbed of a chance to go to the World Series due to some shenanigans. And we're not going to get into those shenanigans. You know what Cashman means by that. It's unfortunate how it ended. You know, especially given his last couple of starts, how they ended. He wasn't given the chance to right the ship. But I don't want to say it's over. You know, there's always a possibility that he will return. But I do want to say this. If this is the end of Masahiro Tanaka in the Bronx, I want to thank him. You know, there's a lot of, mixed reviews about Tanaka's time in New York. There was an article, and I don't want to even cite who it was because, it made me sick reading it. But they basically said that the deal was a flop. That's far from the case. He became a clubhouse presence. He became a locker room leader. And even though he's coming from a different country, he came in and tried his best to be the Yankee way. Yankee fans love him. I personally love him. If you follow me on my social media accounts, I tweet the guy in Japanese telling him how much I love him. It's going to be sad not seeing him pitch for the Yankees. But I think if you're looking at it from a big perspective, we knew it was coming, which it doesn't make it any easier, but we knew it was coming. And we don't have to watch him pitch against the Yankees. I think that would have hurt more. So my goal and my hope is that Tanaka goes to Japan, gets back on track, figures out his splitter that gave him trouble at the end of the year, absolutely dominates, wins a championship in Japan, and the Yankees reevaluate, have some more money to spend, and say, look, Masahiro, time to come back. We're ready to win another World Series. Hopefully they win one in 2021, and they can say 2022 they're going to go back-to-back. But hopefully this is not the last chapter in the Tanaka story with the New York Yankees. I'm going to keep my hopes up. It may be naive of me to do so, but I'm going to keep the hope up because I do love Tanaka. I love everything he brought to the table. I hope he stays healthy. I hope he's very successful. I hope that the fans in Japan really embrace him for coming back and enjoy watching him because he is a pleasure to watch on a daily basis and to be around. The guy's a warrior. And I think that the Yankees got everything they wanted and more when they signed him to that big-time contract. They brought him in as an ace. The ace that they desperately needed. But he brought them so much more that I don't even think they thought could be possible. So for now, thank you, Masahiro, for everything you did for the organization. And hopefully, a reunion will occur at some point. So when Yankee Stadium is jam-packed with fans, so that everybody gets the opportunity to thank you for all you've done for the New York Yankees organization. Now, as we're a couple of weeks away from spring training and hopefully everything goes smoothly and we can start on time, a couple of news and notes to look at, especially in the direction of where the Yankees are going. What more can the Yankees possibly do? Well, at this point, it looks like they're getting closer to the luxury tax. The only thing I expect them to do, and I disagree with this, I've said it before, is re-signing Brett Gardner, and I don't agree with it. I understand the loyalty aspect of it, but I just feel like we keep bringing back the same lineup in the same situation, and I don't want Brett Gardner taking at bats away from Clint Frazier. I want Frazier to be the everyday left fielder. I want them to let him thrive. I get that Gardner would be brought in as a depth piece, but I think that there's not really much difference at this point between him and Mike Tauchman if you give Tauchman the every day at bats as the fourth outfielder. But I get why they want to bring back Gardner. They want to give him that farewell tour. I get it, but I just don't understand the logic of giving him that roster space at this current point. I love Brett Gardner. I love everything he's done for the organization. I just think that it's time that they go in a different direction, but I understand why they want to bring him back. And if you're looking at the market, a lot of the big names are off the board now. Jock Peterson, who a lot of people speculated the Yankees may be interested in, he's off the board, goes to the Cubs. Eddie Rosario, which didn't seem like the Yankees had much interest, he goes to the Cleveland Indians. So your left-handed hitting outfielders, they are getting a little slim to none. Seems like Gardner's only going to play for the Yankees. The Yankees want Gardner back. Eventually it's going to happen. Other than that, I don't think they're going to do much. Unless a surprise trade comes along or, they try to clear up some 40-man roster spaces, I don't see a lot of big moves happening. A lot of noise has been occurring in Major League Baseball recently. Nolan Arenado was projected to be traded to the St. Louis Cardinals. That deal is almost done. Didi Gregorius signed a 2-year deal to return to Philly. You see these middle infielders getting a boatload of money. Marcus Semien moving to second base for the Blue Jays. He gets $18 million a year. Simmons goes to the Twins. He gets $11 million, I believe. Tommy La Stella, St. Joe's grad. Congrats to him. He gets a 3-year deal from the San Francisco Giants. So you see a lot of these players starting to come off the board. The big name still in the mix is Trevor Bauer. And who knows what's going to happen with him. Looks like it's down to the Mets and Dodgers because his market really depleted over time. So I think the Yankees are going to stand pat. I think Brian Cashman's keeping all avenues open. But at this rate, I don't think many big moves are on the horizon. But if they are, if we do see some big moves or some big trades, we will definitely cover it. We're getting closer to spring training, and just like the players and coaches and organizations, we are gearing up for the 2021 season. As we gear up for the 2021 season, we hope that you continue to listen to our show, the Pinstripe Talk Podcast, powered by Delahanty Media. I'm your host, Nick Delahanty. Reminder, follow us on social media. If you haven't done so already, check out all of our social media platforms, and also check out our YouTube channel. If you're watching the video stream of the show, hit that subscribe button. You won't be disappointed. And as always, let's go Yankees. I don't know about you, but I am very excited for the start of the 2021 baseball season. Until next time, as always, let's go Yankees. Stay safe, everyone, and thanks again for listening to another episode of the Pinstripe Talk Podcast, powered by Delahanty Media. I'm Nick Delahanty. We'll talk to you really soon.